My name is Shelley Broader, and I am a proud board member of the Council for Court Excellence and of DC Appleseed. But in my real life, I was the longtime dean of the UDC David A. Clarke School of Law. Your tax dollars at work. It is my great honor to welcome each and every one of you to the University of the District of Columbia. We are so grateful that you came, and we appreciate the fact that you care. With that, I don't want to belabor anything. Let's get going. I'm going to bring forward Misty Thomas, who is the legendary, gifted leader of the Council for Court Excellence.
Hello, friends. Good evening. Welcome to the 2026 DC Mayoral Candidate Forum focused on public safety and justice. My name is Misty Thomas Zaleski. I'm the very proud Executive Director of the Council for Court Excellence, and I'm going to start briefly by thanking those who made tonight for possible. Our amazing 30-plus co-sponsoring organizations, all nonprofits and mission-focused groups here in the District of Columbia, including the David Clarke School of Law. And so I'd like to also thank my phenomenal, incredible staff, especially Tracy and Crystal, who led this event. I hope you get to know my team. Everybody's wearing this. So you can meet up in the reception to get to know more about CCE. I also want to thank the Morris Inquisition Papers Foundation and the Diana Norman Bernstein Foundation, who helped make many of the logistics of this event possible. I'd also like to thank these candidates for choosing to run and give DC a meaningful choice in who's going to be the next leader of this city. Now or ever, we know that free and fair elections and meaningful debate and dialogue are bedrock of this democracy and are much needed. Before I introduce our moderator and the candidates, I would like to just take the moment of privilege to tell you a little bit more about CCD, the Council for Court Excellence, which I'm so proud of. We are a deeply DC-rooted, 40-year plus in operation nonprofit here in the city, nonpartisan organization. We've been championing justice in the city and independence of our courts for that long. Our mission is to make DC's very unique legal system more equitable, more just, and more accountable to our community. So with that, we do that work in a variety of ways. We are a convener. We bring people together who might not otherwise talk. We're sitting there silos to try to solve these problems together. We do research. We then advocate for the change based on evidence and data and our findings. And then we do public education to engage our community, including events like this one where we hope to bring you all together to learn about our legal system. As you enjoy tonight's reception after this forum, I hope you'll grab some of the literature and some of the resources we produce, and some of our amazing partner organizations also have some information here. Learn from us, get to know us. On behalf of CCE, I'd like to personally welcome all of you to find a way to be part of our participatory organization. You can join a committee, you can join our membership, you can be part of how we, as I said, many of you care as much as we do about equity and effective justice system. So come join us. That is my personal invitation to you. So you're thrilled that you all made it here in person, but some of your friends and loved ones may not have been able to. Or we got a lot of brilliant minds up there. Some of them might talk fast. You might miss something that they say. So we will be posting a recording of this on our YouTube channel in the next couple of days so you can share it with friends who missed, or go back and check out details for yourself as you consider your first ranked choice voting ballot this year. So we're thrilled to have you, let me see, our candidates. I'll do really brief. We're going to let them really introduce themselves. So I'm going to name them. I'm not going to talk to you about their bios. But in alphabetical order, we have 5 Democratic candidates tonight. Delia Ford, Gary Goodweather, Ernest Johnson, Janice Lewis George, Vincent Orange, Reese Simpath, and independent candidate Rhonda Campbell. All qualified candidates of all parties and write-ins were invited to this event. And we are, of course, truly disappointed that some were unable to let us know in advance or chose not to attend tonight's forum. The candidates and moderators have already agreed to ground rules and have agreed to participation. But we also have a few ground rules for you all, the Silky Remy, to maximize the time and we can hear from these key wonderful people. They can share their views, and so we can be in this together and maintain a really respectful event where everyone feels welcome and heard. We're asking that you refrain from loud reactions, verbal, gaze, boos, any of that. Please save those for this forum. Say your big applause for their closing statements. They're going to end with a bang. You can show your gratitude and your enthusiasm at that point. You're asking for no campaigning in our event or electioneering signs. Certainly, you may have your own affiliated. Please no signage. Please no campaigning actively. If we have problems, I don't foresee it. You all look really great. But if we do reserve the right to ask people to step out and not be in this room. I don't expect that. With all of that, it is my privilege to pass to our moderator, our distinguished moderator, Ted Over. He's the investigative reporter from RO's NBC4, host of show For More Context. He is going into all corners of the DMV, but he's got special love for legal system issues and accountability of government, and has done a lot of reporting on DC. Probably all of you have seen some of that. He is now celebrating what I can't possibly believe is his 30th year of reporting, holding powerful people accountable for the principle they're supposed to. He's a real asset to the DC journalistic community. We're grateful to have you. Thank you, Ted. Thank you, candidates, for being here. We're going to have a back to one and snap review when we're done. Thank you, everyone.
Hey, look, it is great to be here. Thank you to all of you. I look forward to working with one of you for years to come. I hope you're as happy to see me coming then as you are tonight. But mostly thanks to you. I think the first choice of a mayor in 12 years is a giant one. And so applause to you all for being here. And I do hope you spread the word. My assumption is this is probably not the first forum many of you have been to. My assumption is also that you will hear something new tonight because as hard as they are working, they know that this is a dedicated audience to public safety. We're gifted to live in a time, right? They say, may you live in interesting times. So when it comes to public safety in the district, certainly we are, right? Crime is down in the jail population. It is, MPD says they don't have enough officers, and that we're just not certain. Maybe it's the nicest way to say it. That federal intervention is the best way to accomplish more officers on our streets. So let's get into all of them. We've talked about the ground rules a little bit. I want to remind the candidates a little bit more about how this is going to work. We will work from your left to your right. The first question will go to Ms. Ford, and then the second question to Mr. Goodweather, and so forth. I trust that you all can help yourselves with that as much as I can help you as well. 2 minutes for an opening statement. We want to hear your vision to address safety and justice in the district in these times. Then a series of questions, and you get 1 minute. Sounds short. It is what I do all day to make 1 minute of television. Trust me, you can get a lot in a minute. We also have 2 lightning rounds. That is a yes or a no, and you have paddles. Yes or no. Not to hit your people with, not to raise money with, but we just want to get a couple quick answers, and I promise those are yes or no questions. We worked hard on those questions. Finally, you get 1 minute at the end for those closing statements. Because of the number of candidates of press time that we have, we do have a tight timeline. We reserve the right to turn your mic off, but we also ask that you respect each other and respect the audience of voters here in DC to try and keep the time so we can get as much in. When your time is up, you will hear this. Very pleasant. We'll also hold up a sign that you can see and the audience can see so they know that you are over time and your paper is late. Nonetheless, if you can't follow those rules, I will interrupt you and ask you to move on. Then, one last thing, let's focus on your plans. As much as candidates like to talk about other people's deficiencies, we'd love to make this about your positives. Give us a reason to vote for you, not against someone else. And with that, let's get started. 2 minute opening statements. Ms. Ford, the floor is yours.
We'll start my time. Okay, I'm redeeming my time. Good evening, everyone. Good evening. My name is Yadida Ford. I am a civil rights trial lawyer, the only one running for mayor in the District of Columbia. I started my career working for DC Superior Court. I call myself a proud daughter of that court. I was a law clerk for Judge Harold L. Cushenberry Jr. And at that point, I decided I could have been a prosecutor, but I decided after working on a criminal docket with my judge, who was a presiding judge at that time, that I didn't want to be someone who put young people away. I wanted to be someone who prevented them from going down that path. So after leaving Judge Cushenberry, I began a mentorship program called Ladies First, and we exclusively served young women in Ward 8. I am a Ward 8 resident. I don't know if Ward 8's in the house, but I am a Ward 8 resident. Hello. And I'm very proud of the work that I've done as a mentor, but also as an employer. Also, I've hired a lot of Ward 7, Ward 8 residents, some interns, some law clerks, and then some of my mentees ended up working for my law firm from Ward 7 to Ward 8. And so one of the biggest ways to fight crime is employment and jobs. And the next mayor of this city has to have a plan to keep our young people employed straight out of from high school to college, those that return back to BC. And so if you look at my website, you'll see one of my platforms is a school to government jobs pipeline. But we should be able to offer jobs from BC government to our young people. It creates stability for them, brings them back to the district. It gives them health insurance, and it's a decent job. It's not the highest paying job, but it's a stable job and very, very used. DC government at one point in time that create the middle class. So I want to be able to offer our students that as a way to create stability and prevent crime from happening. Reduce the opportunity gap. So that's my statement. My time. All right, thank you. That's
Never complain about if you've done that. That's never.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Gary Goodweather. And first of all, thank you all for being here. And thank you to all your organizations that are sponsoring this evening. The fact that you're here means that you're engaged in this process, which is incredibly important. I am running because I believe we should expect more from our city government, from our city services. I realize that our city government is failing us in a lot of ways, and services are not being effective. The policies that we have continued to push and pass over decades had not had the outcomes that we want. I'm not a career politician. I spent the past 30 years in service to our country, United States Army as an Army officer, and in business, building in this city, building businesses, friendships, relationships, and navigating the bureaucracy that we call our DC government. And we've been successful operating at the DC government, even when it seems that the DC government wants to hold you back, that they don't want to see you succeed. And I want to ensure that every DC resident succeeds. My vision for a city, for safety and justice in the city, is that when you walk outside, when you move around our city, that your safety, you'll even give it a second thought. It is about it, and my vision for justice is defined by every resident's success. You're going to hear me talk a lot about the Capital Accord this evening. And the reason is my citywide civic initiative and workforce development program that will create a pipeline for residents for our city needs. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Dr. Rhonda Hamilton, and it is a pleasure to be before you this evening. And I too thank the organizations that have come together to bring us before you to address matters as important as law, safety, and justice, rather. And what I understand being a local, first and foremost, I'm so excited to be back home. I was a cheerleader here many years ago. I won't say when, but I will tell you also things this major. So it's really exciting to see what growth can look like. And so yay, UDC. I have been a mental health advocate for the better part of the last decade here in Washington, DC. So I believe out of most of my opponents, I'm the one that's been in the trenches. I'm the one that's held the mothers in my arms when they've had to bury their children, when just buried 2 youth over in Ward 7. What I realize is that when government doesn't work, it is we, the citizens, that must come forward. I'm a very proud third-generation Washingtonian. And what I understand is that we possibly need a government where we can have a bipartisan approach to our policies and understandings. All too often, the politics get in the way of the reality of what's needed. Our city is divided by an 81 times wealth gap, a rapid gentrification, and the reality of the threats to our independence. Now Washington, D.C. needs a leader that will come forward and not support the incarceration of our children, not locking them up in their homes, and making certain that matters of mental health are addressed. I am Dr. Rhonda Hamilton. I am D.C., and it's time that we save our city. Thank you.
Okay, who went? Yeah, did Mike on yet? Hello. Hello, everybody. My name is Ernest Johnson. I am a native Washingtonian. I'm so happy to see all of you. I know a whole bunch of you in here. Good to see you all. I am a Harvard-educated leader. I have an undergraduate degree from the University of Maryland in mathematics. I co-managed Marion Burr's first campaign for mayor. So I know a little thing about public safety and justice in the District of Columbia. Our MPD, we have a very good police department, but we also have a small road agency. Our fight is not among the people up here. It's to who is prepared to stand up to special interests, to lobbyists, to the people who have really got a grip on this city and on our finances as well. So those are the things that I'll be talking to you about this evening, some solutions, things that I'm already working on our public safety, not things that I'm going to do, things that I've been working on for the last 10, 12 years. So I appreciate all of you being here. Looking forward to this discussion. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Janice West George. I am a proud third-generation Washingtonian, a proud graduate of DC Public Schools, and a proud graduate of the Howard University School of Law. And I'm running for mayor to do what I've done as an organizer, what I did as an attorney, and what I've done for the last 6 years as council member, and that's put people first. And putting people first when it comes to safety and justice to me means doing 3 things: focusing in on intervention, prevention, and enforcement. And I believe we could do all 3 at the same time. As my mother would say, we can walk and chew at the same time. Intervention and prevention work. What does that mean? Prevention means making sure people's basic needs are met. That's why I've been talking about universal access to childcare. It's why I've been talking about addressing chronic absenteeism and doing things that work along those lines with home visiting and supports for our young people. It's why I talked about investing in school-based mental health. But it's also why I talked about making sure we have access to food access, where one board has 18 grocery stores and one only has one. It's also why I talked about SNAP benefits, so people have access to good food and supports, right? That intervention work, though, is critical. I've been proud to be an assistant attorney general here in D.C. I'm proud to be a former prosecutor at the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. And I can tell you that I believe in intervention work because I know that it does work. Because if you want to address crime, you also have to address housing and job instability and health and education. And so for me, intervention work has looked like being one of the first people to create one of the first of its kind deferred disposition agreements. It's been sitting in and convening restorative justice circles. It's been being a part of actual ceasefires that I was able to sit in between Kennedy Street and Briggs Park in my community, because I saw the ways in which we stopped gun violence flying back and forth because we did that intervention work between young people. And it is an enforcement work. And that means having an accredited crime lab in our city and a 911 center that works. I look forward to this conversation tonight. Thank you.
Okay, good evening. My name is Vincent Orange. I am an attorney and a certified public accountant. I possess a Master of Laws in Taxation from Georgetown, my law degree from Harvard University, and business and communications degrees from the University of the Pacific. I've had the unique opportunity to serve as a 2-term Ward 5 council member, as an at-large council member, and as a DC Democratic National Committee man during the Obama years. I came into office in a very bad time in 1999 when we had a $518 million deficit, junk bond status, scared of Y2K, and all powers of the mayor had been stripped away. We were being run by a control board. But make a long story short, in 8 years, we went from junk bond status to $1.6 billion in our rainy day fund. We went from a mayor that had no powers to all the powers restored. And you know what? We had our best minds. We came up with a plan called the Economic Resurgence of Washington, D.C., Citizens Plan for Prosperity. We looked out there was a recession going on throughout the United States, but not in D.C., because we had the federal government and the DMV, everyone had jobs. We create a plan, the Economic Service of Washington, D.C. Citizens Plan, Prosperity, executed all 40 action items, and that's what brings us to where we are today. Now, I'm not Benjamin Bannock, but I changed the comprehensive plan for the rebirth of Union Market and NOMA. I'm also the one that's credited with jumpstarting economic development, school modernization, the school recreation facilities. I'm the one that got us the minimum wage, and I am the one that created DC Emancipation Day holiday. I have a strong record. Check me out, orangeformayor.com. I am the most accomplished candidate in this race. And I'm not talking about what I'm going to do. I'm talking about what I have done and what I will continue to deliver to the citizens of the nation's capital. And with the White House, we will not negotiate to fear, yet we will not fear to negotiate. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here on an evening that you could be spending anywhere else. I'm really excited to talk to you all for the next hour. My name is Rini Sampath, and I am a first-time candidate running for mayor because I believe that DC government has an execution problem. It's not a money problem. It's a management and administrative problem. And this is a job for a true administrator and an operator. So on the topic of student safety and justice, because I could go on a number of topics, everything from housing, takes 13 months on average to fill an affordable housing unit in DC. It could take 3 years to repair a non-ADA compliant sidewalk. And 911 call centers are often sending EMS to the wrong quadrants. These are all unacceptable administrative obstacles in our city. But on the topic of safety and safety of our young people, one of the statistics that moves me the most is that we have 3 times the national average incarceration rates for our young people in the city, and that is unacceptable. When you look even deeply into the numbers, we know that 97% of those incarcerated are our Black youth. We have fundamentally failed our young people in the city, and our vision for public safety must, at the end of the day, include young people and center young people and make sure that equity and justice is at the center of everything we do from the mayor's office. That's why my commitment to you, and over the course of the evening, hopefully you'll hear this from me over and over again, is to fix the administrative issues that we see, modernize this government so that legal aid can actually be provided to every single person, regardless of documentation status, who they are, where they come from. I'm going to make sure that we continue to remain a no cash bail system, DC government, regardless of the federal encroachment. I'm going to make sure that there are cleaner, safer jails, because that is a part of the way that we take care of humanity, regardless of the fact we have incarcerated people in there. It's about taking care of our returning citizens. I want to do that for you as mayor. I look forward to talking for the rest of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I want to thank the council and the co-sponsors of tonight's event. Together with them, we formulated questions that we think will address some of the very things that you heard in opening statements. Candidates, I want to remind you our question rounds are 1-minute answers. We'll start with Mr. Goodweather. So much in public safety, which many of you have listed as a high priority in your campaign websites, is about policing. Not all about policing, but we will start with police. In the last 3 years, DC has had 4 police chiefs, including 2 interims, including one who's serving right now. As mayor, what would you do in your first year to stabilize MPD leadership and rebuild the community's trust in our police department? Mr. Goodweather, we start with you for 60 seconds. And grab a microphone.
We're going to bring MPD back up to full strength. We're about 3,100 police officers. Full strength is roughly 5,000 police officers. It's actually costing the city more money right now to an overtime, which leads to reportability for our city than if we were to have a fully staffed MPD. Second of all, I want the best trained, most empathetic police force in the world. And I want our police officers to be able to afford to live in the city, because I believe that they should live and have the ability to live in the city that they serve. Third is the police chief, and every individual in my administration will be an expert at what they do, and they will be mission driven. And they will be accountable to me as mayor. I've warned you a forum before. Accountability is key, and ultimately that starts with me. Thank you.
African, please.
Yes. We have been a city that has been starkly divided between what the citizens' needs are and what our government believes they need. As mayor, I'm going to sit down with the chief of police and I'm going to want to understand their commitment for realizing that we must respect the understanding of our community members' concerns. There is a trust that has been broken in 3 terms under the current mayor's leadership. What we understand is that our citizens do not want to live with crime issues across the wards. What we also need to understand is that we have a government that will work together, all 3 branches. Again, bringing a bipartisan approach to our systems and our policing is going to give our citizens the understanding that politics will not be involved, that they will be at the center of our decision making. Our youth and our unemployment will be addressed, and we will not have our police showing up operating as mental health advocates. Thank you.
This is another one of those issues that involves a certain amount of public courage. We have an outstanding MPD. What they're waiting for is a leader, somebody who is going to hold everyone accountable, not just a few people. One of the first things I'm going to do is end training in Israel. I don't know how many of you know that. Most of our police department, MPD, trains in Israel, if you didn't know that. I'm going to bring a training program back with Harvard, University of Maryland, UDC, and a couple of other institutions so that we can get community policing back. Our residents deserve the best and highest performance from our officers with a leader that they can trust, that will have their back against federal intervention and other things. You will see a different performance from our police department.
Thank you. The relationship with our police department here in DC has been severely broken. Trust has been broken. Trust has been broken because of what we're seeing with the federal government in the intervention with MPD and ICE. And so on day 1 as mayor, I will end cooperation between the Metropolitan Police Department and ICE. I had already introduced legislation as such as a council member. And if it's not done within this council period, it will be done on my first day as mayor because we need to rebuild trust. But we also need to be honest that trust wasn't just broken when ICE came into the picture. Trust was also broken when Karan Hilton Brown, a young person in my community in Ward 4, was killed in a illegal chase that resulted in his death. And those officers who were convicted were then pardoned by the Trump administration. And after that pardon, were hired back within the police department. You don't build trust that way. And so for me, rebuilding trust is going to mean, first, we need a new police chief. And we're going to do a national and internal search of a police chief who is ready to rebuild trust, not only with the community, but also within the officers within the Metro Police Department. That's where we're going to start. Thank you.
Ted, let me answer your question directly. I'm going to do a national search to find a police chief that shares my vision. And my vision is public safety and justice are not competing priorities. They are inseparable. You cannot have safety without trust, and you cannot have justice without accountability. My approach is very simple. Prevention where possible, enforcement where necessary, but opportunity always. But we need to have a strong public safety and justice establishment here in the District of Columbia. Public safety protects our tourism business. It protects our children going to school. It protects us just being here tonight. Public safety protects every part of our life. And you have to return the 4,500. And this council, they're the ones that came up with this whole thing about defund the police. They're the ones that have been keeping the police force at 3,900 while they budget for 4,500. We need to be asking the question, what happened to the money for the last 4 or 5 years for those 1,400 FTEs that we do not see on the street?
Sir, I see this as a human capital, staffing, and culture issue. So I used to be a chief of staff over a 400-person organization. I've hired, I've retained, I've managed budgets, and I've grown organizations. So I know what it takes to stabilize staffing level. If you look at MPD, unfortunately, you have a culture and retention issue because these officers are under a great deal of stress, and it could honestly be caused by a number of factors. Could be caused by what they're seeing, what they're out there on the streets. They could also be the internal supervisor pressures and a lot of other issues. So we've got to get to the bottom of that by doing a thorough audit of what is causing the MPD staffing issue and address it at the root. On top of that, I want to make sure with some of the problems that we're seeing, like 89% of individuals who are dealing with force from MPD are Black Washingtonians. That's got to end by making sure that MPD officers actually complete their diversity and equity inclusion trainings. I read an auditor's report that said most MPD officers are not completing those trainings, and that's unacceptable. So talking about culture, we have to address it in as many ways as possible to make sure we got an MPD that we like.
Thank you. Ms. Ford.
Thank you. So the question was about rebuilding trust and stabilizing leadership. So I'm going to start with the first part of that question. I'm getting some feedback here. Can you all hear me? I'm redeeming my seconds on this, on the feedback. Thank you. Rebuilding community trust. For those of you who don't know, I'm the lawyer who represented Deon K's family. Deon was shot, he killed on Orange Street, Southeast. In 2020, we went to trial. It took us 5 years to get to trial. Went to trial last summer. God was good to us. We prevailed. The jury saw our way. And as I sit here today, the Office of the Attorney General is actually fighting that verdict right now on the taxpayer dime. That is one thing that erodes trust. When people wait so long for justice, and then, you get it, and then here's DC government fighting it. So that's one issue. But also, we need to recruit officers from our own city. I've encountered MPD on many occasions. They are not from the District of Columbia. You should. I used to watch career fair here at UDC. You should have a law and justice fair, career fair at high schools to turn people on to serving in their communities. That is one easy way to engage your community and to rebuild trust, to stabilize leadership. I would love it if Robert Tansi would come back. I really would. But that's okay. I'm out of time, so I'll loop it in on my next.
Thank you. Thank you. Look, in campaigning these days, the gram is important. I will only tell the candidates this. We know you respect the audience. You understand we see the future of public safety projected on your face. We will understand you mean no disrespect by sitting to answer. The second question, and thank you, by the way, very much for keeping the time. You're doing a great job. Our second question starts with Dr. Hamilton, and the question is this. What policies or programs would you continue, discontinue, or start in your first year as mayor to reduce violence, including street violence and domestic violence? And most importantly, in this tough budget year, what do you cut to fund?
The policies that I will continue is the reality of the violence interruption. The concept is perfect, makes perfect sense, because we need to make sure that we are pairing lived experience individuals with our young people and our young adults who are oftentimes unemployed and loitering in the streets because we have community centers that are closed and we haven't properly budgeted and provided oversight for these young people. And so I would like to see the violence interruption program continued. However, what I'd like to do is implement a more community-centric approach in how we galvanize our youth before they come out of school. We've got to turn our school campuses, into pathways to opportunity and to make certain that our children have higher opportunities for learning, skill set, and vocational skills. And so the violence interruption will work when we provide proper oversight and management of our resources and systems. Thank you.
Well, Violence Interrupters is a very good program, but our Violence Interrupters and the Biden administration will understand that you're not to stay there. If you're a returning citizen, we need you to get vocational training, continue your education, and graduate on to something else. I think a prop is when you have a violence interrupter that remains in the community for too long without upgrading their skills and their professionalism. You have potential problems, and we've had some potential problems in that particular program. So basically, what I basically think is that in creating that program, that will strengthen our community input. But I want to hire 3,000 of our young people in the mayor's youth beautification program. DC is entirely too theory. And once I get my hands on them, then I can begin to deal with them. Most young people rebel because of what's happened to their parents, not to them. They see their current struggle. They're young, they feel invincible. But once they see their family there, they want to do up.
Okay. I often say the city is has resource rich, but we are coordination poor. So there are a number of programs that we already have that I want to make sure that we actually coordinate and empower. So our crisis response team has not been empowered to actually respond to mental health calls and do the supports they need. I want to make sure that we actually do that. I want to make sure that our violence intervention and support programs actually are working and that we have data and metrics to show that and prove that consistently. I want to make sure we can continue our ONE's leadership, Today's Safety Engagement Leadership Academy, focused on young people and middle school students, high-risk young people that we get on Pathways. I want to continue our Pathways program, which is a great program to job training and support to turn people's lives around. Some of the new things that I want to invest in. First, I just want to start leveraging our universities and our hospitals. Children's Hospital has a wealth of information of how we're failing our children and young people, and I want to use that information. I want to also use our universities like UEC to create jobs and pathways and access for our young people. Thank you.
For me, I have 4 pathways for our high school graduates. One, I'm on record that any high school graduate would be able to go to the University of the District of Columbia tuition-free. Secondly, since I'm the mayor and I'm over all the agencies in the District of Columbia, any high school graduate that says that if they're not ready to go to school will be able to get an apprenticeship with the government. So if you want to be an accountant, you can go to Office of Tax and Delegate. If you want to get involved in events planning, you can go to the Convention Center. If you want to get involved in the environment, you can go to the Department of the Environment, and so on. I'm going to, first year, at least 1,500 high school graduates can go directly into government entry-level positions, health benefits, retirement benefits, and SAPL. Thirdly, if you want to go to a higher education, we pay our kids $15,000 to leave the city. I want to sweeten the pie, give them money to stay here because we need those young minds to grow with the District of Columbia. Finally, number 4, if you have a good business idea, I'm sending you to the Department of Small Local Business and Development to look at your issue. We do not have a money problem. We have a management problem.
So I got in this race with the premise that we need to fix the basics. So I talk a lot about some of the most simple aspects of our government and how it's failed our citizens. And one of the things that really caught my eye is the fact that a lot of the fines and fees of DC government only make up 4% of our revenue, but they disproportionately affect our most underserved citizens. And so one of those things includes taking away your license, right? And so we know, and this is research that a lot of the groups here back, is that when you take away a license, especially from a returning citizen, it affects their ability to even have housing. And Bradford, the city, said it best: housing, healthcare, economic opportunity. Those are the 3 main core things for safety. And so if we make sure that people have some of the most simple things on hand, like a license or a roof over their head, and make sure returning citizens have that access, that's how we're going to be able to preserve the opportunity to be a thriving Washingtonian. So I need to continue the housing programs that lead to success and make sure we cut some of these fines and fees that are taking over some of our most precious Washingtonians' lives.
Thank you. Ms. Ford.
So the 2-part question, reducing violence and where would I take on the budget? So the first thing I would do is reconstruct education. I would consider abolishing mayoral control of schools. Right now, we have a 75% of our students are failing and not being benchmarked in literacy and math. 75%, and that is citywide. That is a horrific statistic. And I have the data because I represent educators. Teachers don't even get access to that, but I have it. Like, you don't see that on DCPS's website. We are failing our kids. And unless we control that, unless we get a handle of that, public safety we won't have a solution to that. We have to reconstruct education. So abolishing mayoral control is one. Reinstating a teacher's college. We used to have minor, we used to have Washington Teachers College. We need that back because we're failing in instruction and curriculum. I would also expand Berry and Berry Summer Youth Employment Program. Used to employ thousands of kids. Now it's down to 700 kids. We're failing our students. And so I would start there. And I would take from infrastructure. That's where
I mentioned earlier about the capital for when I become mayor. I'm going to create Update 1, and it has the youth branch. It is designed to give our youth a place of purpose, belonging, mentorship, address mental health concerns, and provide career pathways so that our youth can see a better future. And I just want to take a few seconds comment about, Ted, you mentioned those statistics about crime is down and so forth. I don't think that's particularly accurate when seven people were killed in 5 days last week. And it also doesn't address talking to somebody earlier this evening that isn't addressing quality of life crime here in the city. And I will say this until I do not need to say it again. Mental health is health. And I want to ensure that every DC resident has access to a mental health professional. Every DC resident. Thank you.
We're going to move there to a question related to mental health. We have said for a long time in this district that MPD needs to stop responding as a mental health provider, right? How many of you have heard that? Yeah. The ones that didn't raise your hand, I think, because your hand is stuck. We've all heard that. So this question starts from Ms. Richardson. The MPD still responds to many mental health and substance use crises. There are many people in the DC jail who have behavioral health issues. How do you shift the city toward treating mental health and addiction issues as public health issues as opposed to criminal ones that we send the police to answer to? 1 minute, please.
Very good question. The Department of Behavioral Health has a budget between $600 to $800 million. It has 1,500 full-time employees, and most of this budget is spent operating our mental health hospital at St. Elizabeth. It has 9,000 contract employees. So the deployment of those services has been problematic. We don't have enough counselors and psychologists and social workers in our school system. And like I said, listen, this is a $22 billion budget with 30,000 employees. This is not about rhetoric. There is a grip on our budget that is mismanaging it. We spend $1 billion a year on education. We have a 54% dropout rate. We have a 35% truancy. We have 8th and 9th graders that can barely read at 2nd and 3rd grade level. That is a management issue. What this city needs is a leader with some backbone, some accountability that will stand up for the city. This is not about good speeches. This is about serious accountability.
Thank you.
I hinted at this earlier. We have underutilized our crisis response teams. We had not empowered Department of Behavioral Health to do what they need to do. Then there are professionals working in those agencies who've been waiting for the opportunity to do this work, and I'm going to allow them to do that by empowering them to do that work. We also need to address the substance abuse issues that we have in our city, and we do that through harm reduction strategies. And we know that harm reduction strategies work, and that means we need people who are going to be patient and supportive and allow people to walk into the door and learn about how they can get help and stay consistent with them until they do it. I actually traveled to New York City to On Point NYC, and what I saw them doing there was changing people's lives through that level of opportunity and patience. I also think that we need to address the pipeline issue. We don't have enough school-based mental health supporters in our schools. We don't have enough mental health support across our different agencies. And so what we're going to do is, again, leverage our universities. I don't understand how we don't have nurses in all of our schools in a city where we have a nursing school in every university, right? So we're going to close those pipelines to address the issues that we need to do across this measure. Thank you.
Thank you.
First and foremost, I think there needs to be coordination. We've tried this before. That's going to talk about defund the police. Tried that across the United States. Now they need the police back. And now you want to send civilians into people's homes. You're going to find that that's not going to work. There needs to be a balance. And that's the approach that we need to find. Now, last week, I went down to Martin Luther King Memorial Library, and I engaged the homeless. I also announced that I would be bringing mobile shower buses. I'm going to go to them. And when they come into my mobile shower bus, I'm going to find out who you are. Why are you here? What are your needs? I saw people with low bottles like this trying to take a shower bath on the streets. It was cold. I saw a family there with little kids bringing them down. I am going to go to you. This is where institutional knowledge comes into play. We can't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Everybody wants to start over. No, we don't need to start over. We need to keep improving what we have. Look at this facility. It's a nice facility. They would say throw it away, but we worked on it. I reopened McKinley Tech as McKinley Technology High School. It's about improving what we have and have the institutional knowledge to get the job done.
So I want to make a couple of commitments before I start with that. I want to share that we have to recognize that incarceration is very expensive for any city. And so we need to think about all the other things that we are able to do: civil legal aid, reentry services, victim services, behavioral health services. These are all preventative measures the city must invest in as a long-term strategy to make sure we're not paying for the unbelievable costs that come with incarceration. So these are cost-effective alternatives. And so my commitment to you is that we are going to make sure that we expand the diversion programs that exist and route people towards treatment. So diversion has to come first. And secondly, investing in that CIT, the crisis intervention training, needs to also be seen as something that's critical to saving money in the long term. And lastly, if people are leaving incarceration, they have to have the continuity of care, the mental health and substance abuse support. And this is a must, and the mayor's office must protect this funding regardless of what situation we're in financially. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is one I look forward to hearing the eye on. Oh, I'm so sorry. Gosh, please. There are several of you that didn't get to answer. My gosh. My bad.
So my answer to that is we need community resource officers. When somebody's having a mental health crisis, what is the first thing that somebody would do? We'll call 911, generally speaking. So first responders respond, and that's usually MPD. So we can't really take MPD out of the equation. DBH is not a first responder in those situations. MPD is. And I talk to MPD officers extensively. I talk to their community engagement office. Being trained in mental health is something that we could do. Other cities do it. They've been very successful. Having community resource officers who are there on the scene to say, well, what are these? And that we're not being an incarcerated individual, because you can't incarcerate. Mental health isn't a crime, right? Having any type of mental health or a disability, that's not a crime. So it can't be redressed that way. But having community resource officers, and this is why we need to fully fund MPD, not defund now. You need the funding to go to the right place, though. And now could be towards mental health training for officers who can serve in that role. Thank you.
Thank you. And again, my apologies.
We need to create the workforce to be able to be trained in our city, live in our city, and do so affordably. That means that we are ensuring that our Metropolitan Police Department officers can afford to live in our city. Because again, I believe that for whether it's a mental health professional, social worker, an educator, that it is the city's responsibility to provide the tools to be able to create the workforce that our city needs, and to be able to create a city that everyone can afford to live at. Because if it can't afford to live in the city, not much else matters. Everyone deserves to live in our city, deserves our city. I just say our spending has gone up 70% in about 7 years. This is not about cost cutting. This is about ensuring effective services and utilizing it to the best that we can. Thanks.
This all sounds great until you find yourself in need and you know that your government isn't working and your mental health isn't put you in crisis mode. We currently have a one-size-fits-all model for mental health. And the truth of the matter is, we need to be a city that focuses on mental wellness. At a time where the courts are criminalized homelessness, we have the highest unemployment rate, and we have a myriad of slumlord realities. We need to be a better city that is educated about what mental health truly is. We need to focus on mental wellness, and we need to absolutely reform our current Department of Behavioral Health. It is not serving the purpose that we spend the money for, and we have many citizens that are suffering because of it. Thank you.
Thank you. And now to this question I've truly been looking forward to. I apologize. This is great for this year. As the mayor of DC, you will be the mayor to hundreds of thousands of people, but also the occupant of the White House. You will be the president's maid. You will enjoy what has been called a special relationship with federal officials across the government in all of the forms that work takes. So take us inside the room the first time you meet with President Trump, the first time you meet with Jeanine Pirro, the first time you meet with someone like Stephen Miller. what do you tell them about how DC collaborates going forward, especially given that much of DC's justice system is under federal control? And we start with Denise Lewis.
Thank you. So as a daughter of the district, I know how important DC autonomy is, and I know how important DC statehood it is. That's always going to be at the forefront of my mind. But I also want to be clear with you all that I don't think complying in advance is a strategy. And so for me, when I go into the room, I'm going in the room with our Attorney General, Brian Schwab, because I want the Trump administration to know we will use every legal tool we need when necessary to fight for our residents and to fight for our community. In addition to going in with the Attorney General Brian Schwab, I'm going to go in having built relationships in Congress on both sides of the aisle so that we are filibuster proof. So I let them know we have leverage. There are not 7 Democrats who are going to side with Republicans in the Senate. And therefore, we have leverage here because we built the late relationships in Congress to have that leverage. What I'm going to go to him with, though, is a list of things that we need the federal government to do and focus on. A lot of our federal lands in this district offer opportunities. And so I'm going to say to him, we have Union Station, which has the opportunity to create over 6,000 jobs for district residents. Will you partner with us in recreating our Union Station and making it a place for jobs and opportunity for DC residents? That's how I'm walking at that work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, good afternoon, Mr. Mayor. My name is Vincent Orange, and I am your mayor. And I'm here today not in fear, yet I'm not fearing to negotiate. But let me start by saying what's non-negotiable. Home rule, DC autonomy, and the pursuit of statehood. Now, I understand, Mr. President, in reading you and checking you out, that you said you want to invest in apprenticeships. I understand you said you want to bring $10 billion to the District of Columbia. I understand that you believe that the District of Columbia should be Hollywood of the East. Well, let's talk about those things. But I also want to let you know that I know you're for public safety. Put that on me. I'm going to take care of the public safety. I'm going to get our officers back up to 4,500. We don't need your officers. I'll take care of that. If there's a problem with public safety, come to me. I'll take care of that. But I would like to discuss your utilization of the National Guard. I believe that belongs to me. I know you have Article 1, Section 8, but let's talk about it. Let's talk about how we can work together to get things done, because the District of Columbia deserves the best. I am your mayor.
To answer this question, you have to have some background about who I am as a person. I was a student activist, and one of my proudest accomplishments is successfully petitioning and picketing to get the president of my university to step down amidst the largest sex crime scandal in Los Angeles history. And that's not something you do casually. You do that because you have courage. You do that because you care. And you do that because you're able to mobilize people to believe in something. And so it's very, very important for me that if I walk into the room to talk to President Trump and his administration, I make clear that I'm here to fight for the residents of Washington, D.C. And if I am willing to negotiate, it's because I'm doing it for the best interests of our community. And so secondly, when I do think about what I would want to talk to the president about, it's 2 things. It's one, it's housing. We know that developers don't want to build in DC, and this is a man who is a real estate developer at the end of the day. And so I would like to have a conversation on housing, and I would also like to have a conversation on grocery stores, Wards 7 and 8. That is my number 2 topic, and hope to achieve that. If anything.
This world.
So the first thing that I would say to the president is allow us as a city to address crime ourselves using proven methods that work. That way you don't need this federal task force interfering with our local police department and interfering in our communities, because it is eroding trust in our city. And that is not fixing the problem. And with that, I would also ask for our $1 billion back that he took, right? So that we could fund the programs that we need to address the issues in our youth. Everybody loves talking about the teen takeovers in ADR, but many of those kids come from communities that I know very well. And many of those kids will tell you, we want to work, we want things to do. And those are easy fixes without the federal government in our business. So that is how I would address him. And I wouldn't bring the attorney general because legislation has already passed to remove him from his position. So that's a feeble position to start from, in my view. But we do have an incredible District of Columbia bar with some of the best lawyers in America working here. So that's a resource that I would tap into if he need to. But I won't show my hand like that. But it will end. Pretty nice.
Thank you for visiting our city, Mr. President. When will you be checking out? But the best thing that I can do as mayor of Washington, DC, is create a city that is so successful, that is so prosperous, that is so vibrant, that denying us that having federal intervention in our lives is unthinkable. And I'll say, and it starts with our financial situation. I had an MBA from Johns Hopkins University, which I earned while working during the day, going to school at night. I understand budgets. I work with them every single day. And the first thing that we need to do is ensure that we have financial fiscal responsibility in our city, because what we don't want to do is allow that to be another pretense for Trump to come into our city and have more federal overreach. Thank you.
I would first ask the president, has he gotten my last 6 letters? Because I've been writing him each January to reassure him that the politics are the politics, but DC belongs to the people. And so I would simply allow Mr. President to understand that I, too, am from the world of real estate, having managed a real estate company, a brokerage, real estate school, and currently an insurance professional. Mr. President, that we have to worry about is really just the personality, and it really is about psychology. And I would simply allow him to understand that I have the power of 700,000 DC citizens who I will place in front of Congress and give him a nightmare if he doesn't sit down at the table and help us understand how we get the deal done. DC is off limits. And I believe that our president hasn't had the opportunity to see what a properly run DC looks like. And so we will help him to understand why that is a must. Thank you.
Well, I see we ended the comedy course of that program. If your reputation doesn't enter the room before you do, you've already lost the conversation. What I would say is focusing on right here in the District of Columbia, our utility bills are super high. I've covered a resignation of the Public Service Commission that have allowed this to course a rule that they're erroneous. I like people to just kind of like stand for that. We'll get to Trump in a minute, but let's deal with what we got going on here. Local reformatory, we had that 78 acre a reformatory in Fairfax, Virginia, given to us for $1 a year for 99 years. We let that turn into a gladiator school. We let all the money be stolen until the people closed it down. We don't even have a halfway house in BC. That's how poorly run the city government is now. So don't tell me what you want to talk to about Trump. Don't tell me about what you want to say there. What do you want to say about these issues that you can do something about right now? This is not about rhetoric. This is about serious issues that we need to address.
Thank you very much. We've now come to a spot where we can just sort of take a deep breath. We're in our lightning round. I'm trying to get through 8 questions in about 80 seconds. So find a paddle. Let's make sure everyone has one. You got a yes, you got a no. Yes, can everyone see that? Candidates, let's remember, we've got people way on your left and way on your right, so hold these up really high. Let's start with number 1. As mayor, would you maintain the just passed youth curfews? Raise them up, yes or no? Can you see them? No. Show the folks on the left. Smattering of yeses, on board those. Still can't see it? All right. Well, there's a lot of nuance, but not on a POW. Do you support stronger independent community oversight of MPD, including reporting on use of force and misconduct? All right. For now, would you support DC changing to a money bail system instead of its current risk-based pretrial detention? Do you support money bail? Right? Okay, Mr. Orange is the only yes on that? All right. Would you seek to roll back the recent legislation that made detention rather than pretrial release the presumption in a number of instances? There is recent legislation in DC that made detention the presumption instead of pretrial release. Would you that if you keep it that way, it's a yes. If you force it, if you push to change it, it's a no. Change is a no. Keep is a yes. I mean, you don't like that question. I find that. We'll workshop that one for the next forum. No, it's the moderator's fault. Oh, no. All right, these ones are easy though. These are personnel questions. Do you retain the Deputy Mayor for Public Safety and Justice, Lindsay Appiah?
No.
That unanimous? All right. Do you retain Interim Police Chief Jeffrey Carroll?
No.
Both? Okay. Which, yes? Okay. Do you retain DYRS Director Sam Abed?
No.
All right. I think there's another candidate at the back. Do you retain DOC Director Tom Faust? Department of Corrections. I agree. Had to look him up too. All right. Where's the real estate exec? You got a lot of houses for sale. Thank you very much. That was a little bit of fun and hopefully over it. We started our fifth question with Mr. Orange. And we start on the jail where we just ended. As we discussed it, and Mr. Grayweather, I understand your point that the A level of crime for victims is too much. But this year, crime is down overall in D.C., and yet the population inside D.C.'s jail is up for anyone that checks the dashboards. The D.C. auditor, I heard one of you mention her reports, says the jail is unsafe and deteriorating, but we all know we've been discussing building a new jail in D.C. for a long, long time. Will you commit to having a state-of-the-art facility open by 2030, which is the current timeline? And as importantly, how do you make the current facilities safer and more humane while we wait for a new one to be built? We start with Mr. Orr. 60 seconds.
I actually have a proposal. I want to build a new jail and police headquarters together right there at 300 Indiana Avenue. I have a tunnel that goes right to the district court and a tunnel that goes to DC Superior Court. I'll cut down all the overtime. Cut down on basically bring 4,500 incarcerated men and women back into the city so they can be a part of their families' lives. I think that helps generate crime, and it just be more efficient and more effective. And since it's state of the art, that's the trend across the country, is to build those facilities together. And it really shouldn't have any complaints because it's in Judiciary Square. The district court is there. DC Superior Court is there. The inmates don't have to get up at 3 or 4 o'clock every now. Come down the tunnel and go directly to your court. The families, there's 3 or 4 metro sites you can come and visit your loved ones. It's different. You catch a 10-year V and you in California. You come back and try to talk to this kid, and this kid don't know who you are. So we have to address that issue. And so that's the proposal that I have to take.
Thank you very much. Please.
When I decided to do this, I did a lot of research and reading, especially about some of the other world-class cities in the world. And we all know that there are several cities that do an excellent job of maintaining humane, clean facilities. DC is not one of them. We know that we have many, many deaths in these jails because we're not keeping them safe. We're not keeping our incarcerated residents safe, and that's not okay. So I have 3 main commitments on this topic. One, I believe we need an immediate review of every single DC jail's condition, staffing, operations. We need to make sure the facility actually meets the constitutional standards, and that's going to be very, very important. The second is that people in custody need access to health care, mental health support, and a number of other services, which we know today aren't actually being delivered to them. So there needs to be a complete audit there. And third, we need to make sure the residents are actually serving their sentences closer to home. They're being held much further away from their families, and that's detrimental to their health care. And we need to make sure there's greater oversight.
Thank you. Ms. Ford.
Yeah, so a new facility without a different culture just equals fraud, waste, and abuse. So we need to change the culture at DOC even before creating a new facility. Or just be like some of our schools. We have brand new schools and 100% of the students in that school cannot read at their grade level. That is a failure. And so I would like to see a couple of things. One, We need to enforce personnel regulations at DOC. You have an infrastructure there, it's just not enforced. We need to tighten up oversight of DOC. There needs to be more accountability from the council person who has oversight over that agency to the agency director. Also, DC, we have an issue. We don't always hire the most qualified leadership to lead some of these agencies. And so we need to look at hiring qualified leaders instead of loyalists and lackeys so that there's a vision implemented for Department of Corrections. So we can have a world-class facility. After all, this is the nation's capital. And I think I'm at my time.
This one I'm going to use my paddle for. Yes. One of my mentors goes into the DC jail every week as part of the Frederick Douglass Project, and he tells me almost every week how inhumane that facility is. I'll say, actually, some of my team and I are visiting it with Holy Trinity Church, part with the Frederick Douglass Project next week. Number one. So yes, we're going to fund. We're going to build it. We're going to build a new jail facility. We do need to bring our prison facilities closer to DC, and the research shows that having family closer leads to better outcomes for the incarcerated person and for the families as a whole. And finally, in terms of building it by 2030, I'll get it done on time, under budget, and I'll do it by 2029. That's what I do. I build in this city.
We absolutely need to have more transparency and accountability regarding the oversight of our prison system. I would first and foremost make sure that we have a state-of-the-art prison system built by 2030, as well as we need to bring halfway facilities here in our city so that we can bring our citizens home. One of the things I do want to make certain is that we strengthen the whistleblower laws for our government workers, because what we do know currently is that there is a heavily presence of retaliation that's going on when they're speaking out or when they want to speak out. The fraternization and the nepotism must end. And we must be a more accountable government to make certain that our children and our citizens' interests are not in harm's way. Our children that are housed at DYRS, we are seeing that we have problems with our staffing, and that's been prevalent for quite some time. So I am a mayor that will strengthen the whistleblower laws. Thank you.
Well, there's been too many injuries in DYRS and the DC jails. So the first thing I want to do is strengthen the classification system. I send my deputy mayor, the director of behavioral health and the Department of Health into DC jail monthly inspections while we're preparing the new jail. I've been in discussion with Fairfax officials about some space in low reformatory that's still down there. Also been in discussions with Westmore's office. There's 100 acres of land at Pruittsville that is potentially useful for returning our DC residents to the District of Columbia. I want to open 2 halfway houses in the District of Columbia. That is my commitment to you. These are things that we will get done, and I know how to do, and that I have the experience and the capacity to do those things.
Thank you. As facility chair of the DC Council, I have gone and made my way to New Beginnings. I have been in YSC. I have advocated for individuals in DC jail who had scorching hot water or scorching cold water, who've had instances of mold. And I have enforced making sure we have mold remediation for our young people at YSC. We've had issues with the elevators being broken, each of them having to stay in their room because we don't have enough space, because we choose to mass incarcerate young people instead of treat and support them in schools, in communities, instead of recognizing their worth and their need in this city. I've also seen the work that we've been able to do and not be able to do in New Beginnings as I travel around to each young person and talk to them in New Beginnings about the access they're not getting to actual education, to programming and supports. And so my commitment is to those young people in New Beginnings in YSC and to the adults in DC jail to continue in the oversight, robust work to make sure that you all are safe. I will work with the Jails and Justice Task Force to look at a path forward. They already had the answer. So working with them to
create a new path forward for us to create a new DC jail, construct a new DC jail is what I want to be on day one as mayor, working alongside the jail justice task force. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolutely. Our next question deals with youth incarceration, and I've spent a lot of time talking to parents of kids who end up at some of our facilities. No parent ever dreams for a single day of having their child grow up and be incarcerated in any facility, but especially at the juvenile facility. And so I wonder if we start with you, Ms. Sam, on this question. DC's youth service centers face overcrowding, staffing, and safety problems. Well done. What would you change inside DYRS with your first 3 months on the job? These are immediate things you're going to do, and then over your term to reduce the incarcerated population among youth and improve the conditions at both YSC and New Beginnings.
As a part of my effort to reach out to the community, I've been doing these venture stop tours where I literally hold a sign that says, I'm running for mayor, come tell me what you want to see fixed. And it's young people who talk to me the most. And it's very, very clear that we have failed our young people. I mentioned the statistic earlier, 3 times the national average for youth incarceration rates. 89% of that is Black youth. That's unacceptable. And so for me, one, we have to conduct a complete audit of DYRS to make sure our youth facilities are actually up to standard. It's that of a world-class city. 2, we need to make sure we oppose any congressional effort to lower the incarceration age to 14 years old. This is just ridiculous to me that we even have this on the table, and the mayor's pulpit is going to be absolutely instrumental to doing that. The third is that we want to make sure that the Second Look Act is something that we preserve, that we protect, especially from the mayor's office, because this is going to allow us to make sure young people are treated like young people and not just wild criminals. At the end of the day, these are 3 commitments I make to you to make sure that we protect and preserve young people here.
Ms. Ford.
So one of the first things to improve conditions, we got to change our community partnerships with the UIRS. So there are organizations that are very, very strong at working with youth with no government support. Barrington Smallwood, the Gabby Club of Woodland, he gets no money from DC government. And that he walks around like a Pied Piper. Youth are attracted to Barrington and what he does in Woodland. He would be an excellent partner for GYRS, and I've spoken to him extensively about that as a Wardy resident, and somebody who supports what he does. Also, Dr. LaBelle Long of DC Black Broadway, he is a returning citizen. He also was a credible messenger for a number of years, and they have a formula working with kids that are in the DYRS system, and yet they have they can't get those play from the DC council or from the mayor's office, but they have the ingredients that work because he has a very successful Broadway company. Not all of our kids are into the performing arts, but also not all of our community partners are just drawing kids into the arts. They're actually drawing kids out of crime and changing their behaviors to show them something different. So those are 2 things that I would do. And then the last thing would be an employee survey at DYRS because nobody listens to them. That's it. I'm out of time.
Thank you.
Day 1 when I'm mayor, I'm creating an office of inclusion, and that includes our youth. I will start listening directly to our youth, no matter where they are, so I can understand what they need, what resources they need. And ultimately, I mentioned about, I continue to mention about my Capital Corps and the youth path within it. It'll ensure that our youth are getting educated, training, mentorships, and just life skills, literacy skills, because we need to address the underlying issues. And I think it is incredibly important that our youth have purpose and belonging and understand that they're cared for, they're loved, and we need them as a community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Day 1 as mayor is my intentions to reign as the senior level executives over DYRS as well as the oversight committee for the center. We've known for quite some time advocates on the ground have made it very clear that there is a great amount of abuse going on against our children. We have watched the former employees get locked up for abuse to our young people, and we've not changed our policies to prevent that. Our youth are under attack, and the truth of the matter is that they've shown up to the council to say that the two things that they care about the most is their lack of mental health services, as well as they are afraid in their school settings. We know that the rehabilitation that should be going on at DYRS is not going on. I have been contacted by several whistleblowers who are concerned that they will lose their jobs if they come forward. So again, I will be strengthening the whistleblower laws to make sure that we rein in the true corruption and problems in our government. Thank you.
Yeah, could you repeat that question? Of course. The question is, DYRS's youth service center has faced overcrowding, staffing, and safety problems. What did you change at DYRS in your first 3 months and over your term to reduce the population and improve conditions at YSC at your beginnings?
Well, let me just speak from experience. When 11 correctional officers and the director of the Department of Correctional were taken hostage at the DC jail, I was the one who negotiated their release. So I have a lot of experience in this area with the help of the late former DC Judge Brian. When you have those kind of experiences, you really understand the impact. And I know that there's too much violence going on in DCRS. Not only DCRS, there's too much violence going on in our homeless shelters. That's why a lot of people prefer sleeping in the streets. I speak to a lot of homeless people, and they say it's just too much violence in those shelters, Mr. Johnson. And so those are some basic things that we really need to step up to. It's about accountability. People know that you want to hold them accountable, that there are consequences for negative behavior and for encouraging things like that in schools and things of that nature. And I want to incentivize our young people to complete their education and get out of here early. Maybe if you don't have a GED, get one.
Thank you.
Thank you. In college, I studied the School of Prison Pipeline, and that led me to actually doing a year of service as City Year organization who was focused on School of Prison Pipeline. And what we learned is that based on children's reading scores, math scores, attendance, and behavior, if they were low in any of these three areas, that they were more likely to drop out of school and enter the School to Prison Pipeline. So the way we reduce young people going into jail is to actually attack the School to Prison Pipeline by providing supports we need in education, addressing our literacy gaps, addressing our math gaps, and doing the things that have been recommended, addressing chronic absenteeism with things that work. So we're going to do that by doing what we need to do as a community to keep our young people and have robust services so that before they get to the juvenile justice system in this city, they have not been failed by their community and failed by leadership. And then as we look at Department of Youth Rehabilitation Services, we need to do an audit of staffing, an audit of leadership, and an audit of programming and services. And we need to ensure a real continuum of care for young people as they come out of the DYRS Center. Thank you.
Okay, in November of this year, when I become mayor-elect, everyone in this city, including the DC government, is going to know that I be in business. And the director of the Department of Public Works, he will be meeting me on the first day in January with the plumbers, with the painters, and the electricians, and we're going to the facility, and we're going to start working it right then and there. My other folks are going to have for me assembled mobile shower buses. I'm going to the homeless with personal hygiene products for the women and with mental health advisors to find out what is going on. Your question is, what am I going to do in the first few days? I'm going to be prepared to address the issue right then and there. I'm going to have a revenue alignment commission. I'm going to know where that $22 billion, where it's being spent. I want to know on what column, this is the dollars coming in, what is the intended purpose, the dollars are being spent for its intended purpose, and the other column is going to be surpluses. And I'm going to use those surpluses. I know it's a lot. The speed cameras, and all those other things they're making money off for is available for us to utilize.
You've been great. We have one more set of lightning round questions. It's my favorite. They're least, but we're going to put them through it one more time. I assure you there are moments in the Wilson building that are hotter than this. And so we can bear this, and then after that, your closing statements. So again, the paddles, don't hit me with them. If you don't like the question, I understand some of this needs more nuance, scary, but let's try as best we can. Here's the first one. Do you support increasing tax revenue to ensure the social safety net and systems people rely on for safety and justice are adequately funded? To get increased taxes for safety and justice, social safety net.
No, increase that.
And indeed, rates are. Can you reach the top? No, 8. Well, can you reach the top? Tax is going. I know.
Well,
All right.
tax.
Okay. Look, I know answer. I mean, like keeping your ballot on the table is an answer to. Do you support full funding and implementation of the 988 crisis line, ensuring that it can work interoperably with 911? Do you support fully funding and implementing a comprehensive plan for gun violence reduction? Fantastic. Do you support increasing long-term funding for community-based violence intervention programs, including the credible messengers? Yeah, all right. Do you support expanding diversion programs to provide alternatives to incarceration for DC's young people? Unanimous yes as well. How about adults? Increasing diversion for adults. Unanimous. Do you support I'm sorry. We just talked about DYRS. I think this is an interesting one to end on. Would you expand DC's juvenile justice facilities, this is YSC and New Beginnings, to securely hold more young people? Do you add beds at YSC or New Beginnings? Is it all no's? Anyone say yes? Just for the folks on the line, did anyone say yes to that? Okay. Well, I was looking at me like I'm crazy. It's nice to know what your answer is. We now move to closing statements. And because we started at the far end of the table on our opening statements, let's start here with Mr. Samuth. Ms. Samuth, remind me, 2 minutes, please.
Thanks again, everyone, for joining us tonight. Hopefully it's evident I really care about this issue. I care about our community. That's why I went from a private citizen, concerned resident, to decide to get in this race, because I really want to see DC government work. I want to see DC government fix the basics. And I see that or equity and justice issues are integral to all of that. And so fun fact about me, I did get into law school here at DC, but I didn't want to go because of the loans. So although I'm not an attorney and although I'm not a legislator, one thing is very, very important about my career and my background is that I'm an administrator. I'm an operator. A lot of the issues that you heard tonight were clear operational and administrative issues in DC government. We have a large culture problem in FPD. We have a management problem across several agencies that are at the end of the day affecting the livelihoods of our incarcerated residents, our returning citizens, our young people. And what we need is a true administrator, a true operator who's managed teams, managed budgets, to go in there and make sure we use data and technology in order to clean this all up. On our campaign, we've already been doing that. When we complained about 311, we actually designed a new 311 app. You can go on our website and check it out. It's readyformayor.com/311. You can take a look at the innovative, creative ways that we're trying to introduce new concepts to DC government so that we can go from a government that's really suffering from an execution problem to one that readily integrates data, that readily integrates management, everything that we do. So I got in this race because at the end of the day, I moved to this country when I was 7 years old in pursuit of the American dream with my parents. My grandmother has a first grade education, my grandfather had a 7th grade education. I'm the first South Asian person to make the ballot in mayoral history in DC. And I'm proud of that. I want that opportunity for every single person in DC. And so I'm here before you. I look forward to chatting after the forum and talk more about my vision for safety and justice. Thank you so much for having me tonight. Appreciate you all.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you very much. I very much enjoyed the display this evening of public safety and justice. If you don't remember anything else that I said, just remember this. My plan is clear. Prevention where possible, enforcement when necessary, and opportunity always. And that's what I bring to the table. I bring opportunities. Go to orangeformayor.com. You will see that I have enacted 40 pieces of legislation during my time on the council. And you know what? You're going to have to take my word for it. When you go to Home Depot, when you go to Costco, when you go to Lowe's, go to McKinney Technology High School, when you enjoy DC Emancipation Day, when you enjoy the food trucks and the restaurants, they're still here. I negotiated for them both to stay here. The Mandatory Summer Youth Employment Program, I'm the one, along with Marion, that got legislation to mandate 10,000 summer jobs and increase the eligibility pool to 22, 23, and 24-year-olds. I'm the one that has a plan for our youth. I will work with our youth, give them 4 clear pathways to the middle class. Also, public safety will be my foundation because we must be safe in the city. And at the end of the day, the native son of Washington, D.C., Marvin Gaye said, save the children. Who really cares? I care. I am a better chance student. When I was 14 years old, I got a scholarship and went to a private boarding school. I come from an extremely poor background, 7 sisters, 2 brothers. My parents had 6th grade education. But because of that, a better chance program, and because of Miss Pasolio, Miss Palavin, Miss QC, and others, teachers, they got me through, and I make it here, and I have never, ever forgotten where I've come from, and I will always, always give back. And that's the reason why I'm running again. I have a lot more to give. And like I said, too much is given, much is expected. And I am expected to give because people gave me. Thank you so much. Vincent Orange, number 7 on the ballot.
Safety of every resident is a non-negotiable for me. But it's a non-negotiable for me because as a daughter of the district, I grew up on Kennedy Street at a time when it was called KBY. And there was a go-go song that said, don't ride through the KBY. Because I lost friends and family members to gun violence and to the criminal justice system sitting in Lorton, where I had to visit when I was a child. It's a non-negotiable for me because I am raising a Black son in this city. And I want him to be safe when he walks around the corner every day with his childcare workers. But I also want him to be safe and not seen as an adult when he is just a child making decisions as a child. And so for me, when I talk about my work, I could stand on the fact that I'm a former prosecutor and I'm the only one that actually worked in DC Superior Court on the JM level. And I know how hard people work at this world and do the work. I could stand on the fact that I was a prosecutor in Philadelphia and I had a chance to do rep court and see the ways diversion has made a difference and can make a difference. But I stand on these days because the experience that I have been able to see in sitting in restorative justice circles and watching young people change their lives and what true rehabilitation looks like has been powerful. I've also seen how powerful it's been to find justice for victims of domestic violence that we don't talk about enough, victims of gun violence that we don't talk about enough. So this race is about who do you trust? And I believe you should trust someone who shows up here today, but who showed up in your community every single day. And I believe that you should trust someone who's had the experience to do the enforcement work and understand how important it is. You should trust someone who has done the prevention and intervention work. On Kennedy Street in my neighborhood, I made sure that every agency was responsible for public safety. And under my administration, every agency will be responsible for public safety. And that's because it's personal for me. And I know there's so many experts in this room, so I submit to you that you need a leader who understands that maybe if I don't know everything, I know that there are people in this room who do and want to work together because real safety is going to take all of us as a community coming together and now the real things we know that make people not only feel safe, but actually be safe. Thank you.
Tia, thank you so much. I think you've done a really good job. And I want to thank all of these candidates up here with all of these great ideas. They really have a lot of ideas, but on June the 16th, there's only going to be one Democratic nominee for mayor of the District of Columbia. And one of the things that I would encourage everyone up here to do, not go home and get on the couch, not stop answering your telephone. We need those good ideas back out here once the decision has been made. I've seen too many elections where a lot of people with a lot of ideas, when they don't win, they disappear. You can't cover them. One of the things that I've been working on is the Reekes building. They're trying to tear that down. I have been fighting for 10 years. I got it out of the Audi Stadium deal, and now they can't get a land disposition agreement off it because we kind of got that blocked. So we need people to stand up for these fights. When I called for the Public Service Commissioner's resignation, that's because they had increased our families' utility bills and our water bills, and we need to fight for that. And this is who I need you to stand with us on. So there's a number of things that we must face. Number one, getting these developers, these lobbyists, and these special interest schools out of the city budget. They have a grip all the way down. I just realized it, to the ANCs and the civic association. That's why you have a number of forums that are not like these. They'll invite two people because those are the people that they finance. They don't want to hear everybody else's ideas. But it's a disservice to the voters when you don't hear from everybody and everybody's experience. So that's all I want to say. I'm looking forward to meeting many of you. If you have some ideas, if you like something that I've talked about, if you want to comment on it, I look forward to it. I see a lot of good friends, Bill Lightfoot here. I see Eugene Kidlow, a lot of the people here. I see Miss Brogan from the law school. Nice to see all of you. Looking forward to meeting you in the reception.
Thank you. That.
Again, it's been a pleasure to be before you. I would tell you that with the over-policing and with the overdeveloping and the mass gentrification, we need a mayor that understands the core problem of our cities and that will stand 10 toes down. We are currently a divided city. You must be exhausted of the theater of politics. We show up, we sound so great. We've been serving, but things are still failing. We hold the power in our hands and we must utilize it. When we have more people on the sidelines that are not voting than those that have chosen to show up and vote in our local elections, we have responsibility. When government doesn't work properly, there is a consequence. I will tell you, as we organize folks to shut down the Frederick Douglass Bridge, as we organize town halls in the Marbury Plaza, understanding to force Mr. Brian Swab and Mr. Mendelson to raise the living standards and the standards upon which businesses are operating in our city. When we watch these corporate and developer structures finance their candidate, we are in jeopardy of seeing the same politics play out. I'm a mental health advocate. I see crises every day. We must understand what's at stake. Our children are being exploited and they're looking to repeal our home rule. You need a mayor that, yes, will walk in the room with Mr. Donald Trump and help him to understand that DC's home rule will not be repealed because our citizens will stand together and make certain that they understand that this is our city. We have some grave problems ahead of us. Our systems are fragmented. There are relationships in our government that need to be removed. We do not need to restore leadership that has not satisfied their current occupations. They don't deserve a promotion. We need visionary leadership. I'm Dr. Hamilton, and I thank you very much.
I'm going to stand up because I don't care how I look. What I care about is serving you. I am running for mayor because I want to serve you. I've spent the past 30 years in business as an officer in the United States Army, earning an MBA at night from Johns Hopkins University here in our city. And I could no longer take what was happening to our city, that the policies that continue to get put forward continue to fail our residents. So I started studying this campaign almost 3 years ago, developing solutions and how we are going to implement them and how we are going to fund them. And I put a lot of it out. I put out everything that we're talking about tonight on our website because that is leadership. That is putting out all of your ideas and how you're going to do it so that it is transparent, so that we can utilize all of the resources we have, all of the lawyers, all the intellectual capital, all the passionate people we have in our city, so that every DC resident gets more, because you deserve more. You deserve an outstanding education for your children. You deserve a truly safe city. And we now need to look at new solutions to be able to take us there. I've been officially running for 15 months, and I talked to almost every possible resident I can. And I will continue to show up. This job is a 7-day-a-week job, and that is what I intend to do it. On June 16th, or you mail in ballot, ranked choice voting, I want to earn your first choice vote. If not, I will be honored to be your second. Any which way, I will be honored to be your mayor. Thank you.
All right, the mic is closed. I just want to first of all thank our host tonight, our moderator. You've been incredible. Ms. Ines has been incredible. The young chance of rules. So I'm happy to be here tonight. One of the things I want to say that it just wasn't addressed, but I wanted to say it as a part of public safety. We need to do more than District of Columbia to combat and address anti-Semitism as we see geopolitical shifts and internal conflict. We need a city that is unified. So I want to add that. But the bottom line for me in public safety is education. And we have current leadership that has known about this 75% failure citywide in literacy and math. And if we don't fix that, there's no real plan to address public safety in this city. We have to fix it. And the current council has known about it. They've done nothing. Mayoral control we've had mayoral control since Adrian 50. And the outcomes for our students are worse. So now is the time for a leader with courage. Because nobody's talking about abolishing mayoral control, but we need to look at that. Because education is one of the 8 successful pillars of every empire. And think of the nation's capital, I think of it as an empire. But we are failing right now. And we have no future unless we can correct and address the systemic failures in DC public schools and the public charter. Our kids have no hope. 75%, 3/4 of our students. What future do they have if they cannot read? We also have an adult population, 40%, functionally illiterate. And yet Jimmy Williams and the Washington Literacy Center have no funding from the mayor or this council. That is unheard of. It's unheard of. So we need a mayor with heart. And that's value forward. Thank you very much. My time is up.
Thank you. It's a very serious topic, and we've treated it seriously tonight, so thank you to everyone. A couple specific thank yous. Thank you to our American Sign Language interpreters. This is a choice for every budget. A constant reminder that every does meet reserves to hear these. Thank you to our organizers, not just for the work you do tonight, but for the work you do throughout the year. It helps me be a better reporter. I think DC to be a better place to call home. Thank you to our candidates. It is not easy to sit up there, nor does it indeed campaign for days and days and months on end. So we appreciate your willingness to push yourself forward. And most importantly, thank you to our audience. Look, we got 41 days till early voting begins. You may have made your choice up, but I guarantee there are neighbors who have not. Take the information you learned here tonight. Tell your neighbors what you heard. Ask the candidates who aren't here the same questions. You deserve to hear from them, too. I'm Ted Overg, and I work for News 4. You can find me on air, online, and on social, we like to say. And candidates, when you have that first meeting with President Trump, I'm available. Thank you very much. Have a great night. Before reception, by the way, have a little bit of person more with candidates already in the review, because you will please join us there for some great foods from Lily Southern Ox Catering. Thanks for your night.
No worries. Bye-bye.